Mounce, BBG, chapter 13. Now we are on sentence number 9. You're looking at a sentence that's reasonably long like this, not as long as sentence 10, but reasonably long. You're looking for ways to break it up. You kind of look for punctuation, first of all. And you notice that not only do you have a question mark here, you got a question mark here at the end, so you know you're dealing with a couple of questions. And then as you look through it, you see that he gave you a couple of things. One of the other things I would tell you to look at is you notice this repetition of, of course he's using a bunch of demonstratives this chapter, but you got a demonstrative here, you got a demonstrative here, and especially when you see tau-ta, I really would encourage you guys to get used to seeing this. Students often, they see the alpha and they go, oh, feminine, and it's like, wait a minute, no. Tau-ta with an alpha as a demonstrative pronoun is always going to be neuter, plural, either nominative or accusative. So you're always playing the game of, is this a subject or a direct object? Is it a subject or an object? Or object preposition, that kind of thing. So you really have to look at this and say, before, sort of from the get-go, you want to say these things. See tau-ta, think these things. And when you get to Revelation 3 and you've taken an eschatology course and you're trying to see what it looks like, you read, Jesus wants John to write down the things that happen after these things. Well, that's meta tau-ta. So, you really, and of course, if you haven't had eschatology yet, you'll run into that, I'm sure. Bottom line, though, is when you see tau-ta, think these things. And that will help you in a couple of ways if you knock that into your head, especially when you hear yourself say the word things. That will help you remember that tau-ta is a neuter plural. And again, all you're trying to really figure out is this term right here, is that the subject or is that the object within the sentence? So, all right, knowing that, let's take a look at this first question. And again, he gives you this first chunk, and it's by what authority? And unfortunately, this parentheses is probably in the wrong place, because here's your term authority over here. And essentially he's already given you this whole first line, by what authority, and then you have to figure out what to do here. Now you look at tau-ta, again, you're trying to say, is it nominative or is it accusative? And you're not sure right away, but then when you look at the verb, you see that the verb is actually a second person singular, which means that the subject has to be a you. Well, that's not tau-ta, because that's plural. So you don't have subject-verb agreement if you're trying to take tau-ta as a nominative. It's not going to work. So that means that it has to be accusative, which means it has to be the direct object. And that way you get it to work with you do. In which case you're going to go back and say, by what authority, and turn it into a question. Do you do these things? By what authority do you do these things? And that makes this the direct object. And again, going with these things. Okay? All right. Then you get to the second question, which is this whole chunk. And A might fool you, but again, remember, it's not a rough breathing mark here that we're looking at. And so in this case, it's simply or. And hopefully you've learned that vocabulary by now. But again, look at that breathing mark, and breathing mark's a big deal sometimes. In a similar way, you look at tis, and because you see the accent tells you that it's who, which, or what, and not anyone, someone, that kind of thing. So in this case, or who, we're going to run with this guy. In this instance, who. And then you have the verb gave, and then you have this second person personal pronoun singular that is in the dative case. So who gave to you, right? And again, your key there that should help you visualize that is that iota at the end. As soon as you see that iota, think dative, And again, I probably haven't talked with y'all about DLI or dative locative instrumental, and that's not as critical. Main thing to know here is iota is the ending that tells you that that's what you're looking at. Okay. In the same way, when you look at tane, exoceon, tau tane, you know you're looking at an accusative ending, right? In all those cases, and with the eta and all that, you're looking at a feminine, and that this is you've got this continuity here with these inflections. So the authority, this is the way you'd, if you were just reading it out. But again, or who gave to you this authority, right? So, or who gave to you this authority, and then you have a hina clause, in order that you might do, he gives you the verb, because again, you're looking at another tauta, and you say, well, I got a second tauta, I know it's these things, but how do I get it to agree with a verb so that I know whether this is nominative or accusative? Same process you went through here, because you have this second singular verb. It won't line up. If tauta is nominative, tauta's got to be accusative, makes it a direct object. So in order that you might do these things. So one more time, we're going to say, by what authority do you do these things, or who gave to you this authority in order that you might do these things? Question mark.